good, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video. So guys, I hope you're all doing great and are safe. And today I have a fun video for you. It's about a girl whose parents lied to her that she has been in a coma for a whole year. So sit around and enjoy this video.
It all started on my prom night. I was on top of the world. My life was perfect. I had everything I ever wanted and was excited to graduate and start living my adult life.
I know the feeling until you graduate, get to the real life and everything. No, you know how it goes.
That night, I was glowing. It was no surprise for anyone that I would be the prom queen. And when they announced it, I cried anyway. It was the perfect ending for the perfect high school experience. I was used to being a queen, and I deserved my crown. But as I was climbing the stairs to receive it, I heard a crack. And before I could react, it collapsed to the floor, swallowing me inside. The last thing I remember was hearing the screaming of the others in the room and feeling pain in my entire body.
Well, that was painful, but well deserved. Like, who else going to be the prom queen except for me?
When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My parents and my younger brother were there. They rushed to my side, but they looked gloomy. They looked at each other before I heard my mom saying the last words I ever wanted to hear. She said, "You've been in a coma for a year." I looked at my family seriously at first, but then I started to laugh. "You're kidding me, right?" I looked around the room as I said, "Where are the cameras?" It had to be a joke, but they didn't laugh. They looked concerned. My mom said, "Look, honey, it's a lot to process, but..." "No, there's not. There's nothing to process because you're joking," I replied, although I wasn't laughing either now. They glanced at each other in silence, and my mother started to cry, and it clicked. What? A whole year? What about my prom and my crown and my plans for college? What about my boyfriend? Where was he? I couldn't understand. I couldn't think. I felt suddenly dizzy, and a second later, I threw up. This was not happening. I demanded my mom to give me my phone at once, but she said that the doctor recommended not to deal with the outside reality right now. A whole year had passed, and I needed to take things slow. When I asked about my boyfriend, they said he left for college on the other side of the country. When I asked about my college plans, they said I lost my scholarship. When I asked about my friends, they said they didn't know any, that no one had come to visit me in the past year. And that wasn't even the worst part of it all. When I told them to take me home, my dad said that because they had to pay hospital bills for a year, they now had many debts and they had to sell the house and move to a cheaper neighborhood. We were poor now? This was the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
What? Disgusting? This girl is really something else. Like, what?
I hated them. But when I shouted at them, my mother began to cry again. My brother got really close to my face and said, "Hey, selfish prick, if anyone is to blame for this, it's you. You had an accident and it was your bills that they had to pay. You should be nothing but grateful to them." I crossed my arms and looked at him as I said, "I'm the victim here. You should be there for me." But he almost shouted, "Look around. We are the only ones that are here for you, so suck it up." As I was in the car on my way to the new, disgusting neighborhood, I couldn't stop thinking about my brother's words. He was a jerk, but he was right about something. Where was everyone? My friends? My boyfriend? I didn't have any flowers in my room or loving letters. I had nothing. I had no one. We arrived at the new house, and it was minuscule. I wanted to throw up again. I couldn't bear to be poor. I hated poverty. And now I would have to live it myself. I got inside and went to my room. At least I would have my things, right? But as I got in, there was nothing there except an old bed and an old desk. "Where's my stuff?" I shouted, trembling. But my mom said they had to sell everything. My TV, my computer, my sound equipment. So I said, "What about my pictures, my notebooks, my cheerleading prizes?" And she said we had to throw everything away. None of us kept anything. There was no room for it in this house. This was too much. I yelled, "I don't care about your stupid things. You shouldn't have thrown my things away. You shouldn't have even touched them. I hate you. I hate you." I slammed the door and cried on that little bed for hours. Why was this happening to me? I didn't deserve this. Everything I ever did was for the good of others. I was always there for my friends. As days passed and I slowly realized how lost and alone I was, I got time to do a lot of insight. Since we were in a neighborhood away from the city now, and Dad used the only car we had for work, I started to go out for long walks. And one day, I saw a group of teens that were hanging around in the park. One of the girls told me to sit with them. They were skating and playing soccer and having fun. Without asking questions, they invited me to play soccer with them. I was really good at sports, so it was my opportunity to show off. But I sucked at it. I got a number of punches of flying balls I couldn't dodge, and I also fell off the skate a couple of times. But instead of laughing at me as my old friends in school would have, they helped me and taught me. I spent hours with them. They seemed like really nice people. I had no idea I could have so much fun without spending money. I got back home and I saw Mom preparing dinner. So I asked her if she needed any help. I didn't know how to cook and I was quickly messing everything up. But instead of punishing me, Mom started to laugh. She pinched my nose with flour and we started a food fight. My brother saw us and came to participate. We teamed up against Mom, and so Dad had to come and help her. The vegetables were flying from one side of the kitchen to the other. We were having so much fun. For the first time in my life, I felt free and happy. I was laughing so hard that my stomach ached. My family was so cool. As days continued to pass, we got used to a new routine of having dinner together. I even learned to cook many different dishes. The doctor said that many patients use cooking as a therapy, and I realized they were right. This was a great therapy. I spent time with my brother, too. He continued to go to school while I stayed home. The doctor suggested taking things slowly, and even though I had lost a year and wanted to start college right away, he said it was a bad idea. One of our neighbors was a single mother that was taking care of 5 children. She wanted to sell some items from her home to get money for the kids. We went over there with Mom, and I realized she wouldn't be getting much money for the things she owned, and I felt guilty for my past again. Then she said that those kids weren't even hers, that she was offering her house as a transit foster home. What? She was selling her stuff to help kids that weren't hers? I didn't understand, so I asked her. But she smiled and said she had everything she needed. Everyone in the neighborhood knew what she was doing, so she got donations all the time. Some of the things were piling up, so she wanted to sell them to buy other useful things for the kids. I looked at the kids playing outside. They were cute and loved and happy. This woman had an amazing heart. And then guilt punched me in the face again. My family had lost everything because of me, and instead of thanking them, I shouted hurtful words. I used to have so many useless things, clothes I didn't wear, old toys I never played with. They would do so much good to these kids. The following day, I helped our neighbor to build a website for the things she wanted to sell. I also taught her how to use email and the social networks. It felt good to do the right thing for once. But then, something strange happened. As I created an Instagram account for her, I got tempted and opened my own. The doctor said it wouldn't be a good idea for now, but I couldn't resist. And that's when I saw it. The date. It didn't show a year ahead, but weeks. I got so confused. I started to see my old friends' stories and my boyfriend's. Everyone was talking about summer and the college they were going to go to. What was going on? What was going on? I started to open web pages frantically. Wikipedia, news sites, they all showed the same date, the same news. Only a couple of months had passed since the accident. I grabbed my stomach and threw up, again, in the neighbor's house. So embarrassing. I got out of the house and rushed home. I yelled at my mom so hard. I was so angry. How could they do that to me? They made me sick. My dad and my brother appeared from their rooms and they stood by my mom. I shouted at them. How long was I really in the hospital? And my dad said, 2 weeks. 2 weeks? My mind started to ask frantic questions. What about my home, my room, and my stuff? And Dad said that everything was still there, that they rented this house for the cause. The cause? Was that what they thought this was? My mom got closer to me and said, I'm sorry, we didn't know what to do. We were losing you. I looked at them and said, that's ironic because that's exactly what happened. You just lost me. June, please, my mom begged. But I was furious, out of myself. Take me home, now, I said. As we were in the car, my mom continued to cry and apologize. She said it was for my own good, that I needed to get a glimpse of reality. but I couldn't listen to her. I was mad. I got inside my room and sighed as I saw all my things were still there, that I had my life back. I took my acceptance letter for college and pushed it against my chest. Classes had already started, but I still had time to go. I opened my closet and saw all of my clothes. For a moment, I thought about those poor kids at the neighbor's house, but I didn't let that affect me. On the very next day, I got dressed and drove to college. But I wasn't feeling as excited as I thought. The car, my clothes, my expensive backpack, everything made me feel guilty. Donating just one of those things to the woman would help the orphans hugely. I tried to concentrate on my classes, but for the first time, I felt like an outsider. So, for the first time, I decided not to focus on myself solely. The people in small groups talked about their vacations and how much fun they had together. It wasn't some needless flaunting. They were all people, just like me. I took a deep breath. I was here. I have this opportunity. I could spend my days feeling sorry, or I can do something about it. But I needed to make sure of something first. Instead of driving home, I went to my old boyfriend's home. He opened the door and froze as he saw me. "Were you part of this?" I asked, but he stood silent. Of course he was. A traitor, exactly like my family. I denied in silence and turned around to leave, but he stopped me and said he was sorry, but that he also saw me as a terrible person, a selfish person. He said he'd tried to make me see it for a long time, but I wouldn't listen. I didn't know what to say. I had so many different memories of our time together. I went back home and straight to my room. I started looking at the pictures on my walls. I looked happy, but he didn't. He looked sad and worried in the pictures. How come I never saw that? Was I really that selfish? I looked at the other pictures, the ones with friends, and they were all the same. No one smiled in my pictures. No one smiled around me. I remembered the orphans again and how happy they were that I had made a cake for them. I also remembered the teens at the park. They did laugh with me. For no particular reason. It was the simple things that made the difference. I'd been so self-absorbed in my own world that I never paid attention to anyone else. Not my friends, nor my boyfriend, not even my family. Things would have to change, and I was happy to know I still had time. If I had died in that accident, my life would have meant nothing. But I was alive, and there were a couple of things I could still do. I opened my closet and started to take out everything I didn't use. After just 1 hour, I couldn't believe how big the pile was. I hadn't taken out even half of it. Then I put all the clothes in bags. I also took with me all those old music players and pieces of technology I never used. I got in the car, and with all of it, drove back to the woman's house. The kids came out to greet me and hugged me. I started to cry as I hugged them too. The woman invited me in and asked me what was wrong. I told her my whole story, including the part of me being a terrible person. I didn't leave out any information. But I was still very angry with my family. Their actions weren't justified, no matter the results. And then the woman said the wisest words I've ever heard. She said that we should only put love in our hearts, not hate. Whatever my family did, they clearly did it for love, and that's what matters.
At least the cause wasn't for nothing. She changed and became a better person. So we should all try to love each other and become better people and think about others. Don't only be selfish. Don't be selfish, guys. Think about your brother, think about your sister, and do to others what you want to be done to you. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you liked it, leave a like, comment down below, anything or a heart, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.